some of the things he said there. They want to find out how many votes they need, and they seem to find them. Seeming to mean, like he talked about, he was leading in certain states, and when they counted the mail-in votes, he was not leading anymore after some of those votes were counted. He seemed to allude that and this is what he said about mail-in votes in that briefing. There's tremendous corruption and fraud going on. When you said that, when you tweeted that, were you saying you agree with the president saying that they want to find out how many votes they're down and then add votes to the rolls? That's what's going on here? Is that what you believe?
I think what the president was saying then is saying now, and that all Americans should be saying, is we want to make sure that the process is safe, secure, dignified, and correct. This election, we saw, and I'm going to give you specific examples, in Pennsylvania, where volunteers were on the ground, in North Carolina, in all of the swing states, in Georgia, there were noted irregularities the day of the election and after the election. We talked about ballot curing, but think about it this way. People under Pennsylvania law, Pennsylvania statutory law, were supposed to be allowed, Republican and Democratic, in to watch the vote count. They were kept from doing that. We've seen court challenges to that, but if you can think about our process, no, you're not allowed in. We're locking the doors. We're going to count these votes that are coming in after. Just think about that. As an American, we shouldn't see that. We see that in some of these third world countries, some of these countries where they have.
Let me jump in there. Let me jump in there. The AG of Pennsylvania has said, and I think this was said in court on Thursday by the Trump administration's or the Trump campaign's lawyers, that it was not a matter of being outside. It was a matter of being 10 to 20 feet away, and then they were allowed 6 feet away, not being outside the building, but getting closer. Isn't that correct? Isn't that exactly what the campaign said in court on Thursday there in Pennsylvania, that it's a matter of getting closer, not whether outside, inside?
I want to be very clear about this. The Trump legal campaign is not traveling just on one issue or one theory of improper balloting. In Pennsylvania, it was replete with problems. Let me be specific. Under Pennsylvania law, there are certain constrictures as to when and rules votes, late ballots should be counted. Supreme Court Justice Alito apparently put down an order affecting Pennsylvania saying that there had to be a separation, a segregation of earlier ballots and late ballots. That has not happened to my knowledge. Now, I am not privy to all of the factual evidence. I can only rely on what the law is and do what a good lawyer should do, what a good judge should do, hopefully what a good court would do when they sit together, whether that's the United States Supreme Court or a state Supreme Court, is look at the factual evidence, apply it to the law, and then basically say, was there a violation? On top of that, we need to look at systemically, beyond the evidence, did that state engage in any conduct that was contrary to their own state rules or contrary to their own constitution or to the United States Constitution? Those will be legal determinations made by the court. What I'm saying, Josh, is we have had observers, volunteers in several states see firsthand problems, experience firsthand problems. The courts now will have to go through a very methodical, case-by-case basis and determine whether that is enough to redress those issues. That will be something, I think, ultimately for the United States Supreme Court to deal with. That will be something for the individual states, I think, to deal with. So we are not yet done. We are looking at all the legal avenues. But again, when we come to the conclusion of this process, whatever it may be, The American people are smart. The American people are savvy. This goes beyond Republican, Democrat, or Independent. It goes beyond partisan politics. It goes to the heart and core of our constitutional republic and the fact that whether we win or lose, we want to make sure that we respect the results of the system. Right now, that is up in the air. We're going through that process. All I'm saying is let it play out to its proper legal conclusion, and then we will see whether or not the American people will be able to stand by the final result.
Yeah, you mentioned the legal part, and you know, before you got in Congress in 2010, you spent a long time as a lawyer. You know the law. You've spent a lot of time in that. So I'll move on from Pennsylvania after this question. But you mentioned that the part about Justice Alito and separating the ballots that came in after Election Day, between Election Day and Friday. And if we want to dig into the decision there, right? They looked at this current election, obviously not being like any other past election with COVID and the mail-in and all these things, and then determined that if your ballot was postmarked by Election Day but came there by late Friday, that vote or that ballot would be considered legal, a legal ballot. The state Supreme Court decided that. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and I believe what Justice Alito said was it's too close to Election Day to make a ruling, and they kicked it back down to the lower court, if I understand it correctly. So when those folks in Pennsylvania went to cast those ballots, that was the law at the time. Do you, as a sitting congressman, think that if I'm following the rules in my state as a voter, that there should be some legal challenges that come about that my vote doesn't count any longer? Is that a scenario that you think should be happening?
It's another excellent question. This is what I think. First of all, we need to get more uniformity. What we have seen in this election is state by state a wide variance, a wide difference of how each and every state is handling this. Sometimes, and this is what's sad, even within a state, we have certain counties counting ballots one way, and then in other counties, Philadelphia County, for example, counting them another way. So there's a wide divergence and disparity in the way that these votes are being counted. If we're going to have belief in our system and belief that each and every state got to their electors properly, I think we need to look at that. So once we have set rules, I think they need to be followed. And let me say this, there has been an allegation. I will not basically say that this is definite fact. It's got to be looked at, that after the United States Supreme Court ruled on that postmark, that Pennsylvania election officials said, well, if we can't read the postmark, we are still going to count that ballot regardless after that, even whether it's postmarked in a legible way. That is not what the United States Supreme Court said. That is the Pennsylvania election officials basically deciding what we would say legally, sua sponte, on their own, that we're going to count these ballots and cure these ballots the way that we deem appropriate, taken with the fact that Republican poll watchers under Pennsylvania statutory law, under the rights of Pennsylvania law, were prohibited from being right at the table to see these ballots being counted. Again, when you take a totality of the circumstances in state by state, in what we all know is a razor-thin election, in order to restore confidence in the process, right now we have got to go through this process, not only in the courts, but in terms of recounts, which are going on in several states, before we actually declare a winner.